Hello makeup lovers, how are you doing today? So I'm super excited for this video because I'm going to be testing out the lightest shade in the Milani Conceal and Perfect foundation. This is a drugstore foundation, it's cruelty free, and I've always heard people rave about it, and I actually did purchase it a while back. I got the shade 00 Light Natural, which is this one right here. Whenever they released this was their first shade extension to their range. So I was really excited about it. I was like, finally there's gonna be a lighter shade, but this shade is way too dark for me, so I never ended up really using it. So I didn't have a real opinion of the foundation before this because I couldn't get away with this foundation shade. And then they went ahead and recently, I have to say maybe like 2 months ago, they did another extension to their line and they added 00A and 00B. I was able to find the new shades at my Walmart super fast, so hopefully you guys will be able to find it too, because I did pull up all the information for the foundation on Ulta and they only have the lightest shade that they have is the 00. So I ended up getting 00A, the absolute lightest shade. And I think that it is a really nice shade. It's definitely way lighter than 00, which I was disappointed in. So just a few little facts on the foundation. It has 1.0 ounces, which is pretty much the average go-to for foundations. It does have a pump, which is really nice. And then there are 11 shades in total if you count the new shades, which is not a super huge line, especially considering it's already had 2 extensions to the lines. So I wish that they would have initially released more, and just from what I can tell online, there doesn't look to be a super big range of shades for super deep skin tones either, which is disappointing. So definitely shade range could use a little bit of work, but I am glad that they have added some extensions. But they should probably like take some notes from Fenty Beauty. So it does retail for $9.99, which is a like pretty average price for a drugstore foundation, not too high, not too low. And then underneath the details, it does say that it is a medium to full coverage water resistant foundation plus concealer. I'm not using it for concealer because I like my concealer to be lighter than my foundation, so I just use it as foundation. So that's all they put under the description. They didn't really specify if it was for dry skin or oily skin, but I did go through the ingredients, and I'm not like a scientist or anything, but my favorite foundations that are always for dry skin normally have hyaluronic acid in them, and this foundation does not contain that. Really quick, I am just going to show the foundation swatched on my arm in comparison with other popular foundations that I own, so you can get a color reference. So this first one here is the Milani foundation in 00A. It is a little bit more pink than I prefer, but it doesn't look too bad on the skin, and I did notice when I swatched it that it oxidizes just a little bit. And then next to it is the Milani 00 foundation. Next to that is the WetnWild Photo Focus foundation in the shade Porcelain. Next is the BH Cosmetics Naturally Flawless foundation in the shade 201 Ivory. And then last but not least is the Tarte foundation in the shade Porcelain. This is the Rainforest of the Sea. So it could definitely be lighter, and it does have a very pink tone to it. So if you want to see all my thoughts, my first impression, and how it wears throughout the day, then just keep watching. So before I go in with the foundation, I'm going to prime my skin using the Glossier Priming Moisturizer Rich, which just looks like this. This is my favorite primer. So I'm going to be going in with the shade 00A, and on one side of my face I am going to be using the Sigma F80 Kabuki brush, and then on the other side I'm going to be using the Kumidori sponge from Japanesque. That way we can see how it applies with both a brush and a wet sponge. So the foundation does seem to have a thicker formula. You can see it's not running at all. I'm going to go ahead and start off with the foundation brush. Just take a little bit of that product. Ooh, the color looks okay. Definitely thick. So I only did one pump, and I probably only used half of that product for my face, which is really good. It went pretty far. I would say that the coverage looks really nice. You can't see any redness. It looks smooth. It kind of has like a natural matte finish where it's pretty matte, but it doesn't look like very dull or like I have like no dimension to my face. So I like that it's just more of a natural type of matte. And then the color looks pretty spot on. So far so good. So with the remaining product, I'm going to go in with the sponge. So I think that the coverage definitely looks better on the brush side. I basically, like, that foundation like went into my, like, sunk into the sponge a lot. So I'm gonna go ahead and add just a little bit more so we can kind of balance it out. I think the finish looks pretty much the same, so in the future I would probably just go in with the brush. Alright, so there is the sponge side and the brush side. Honestly, I think the foundation looks really, really nice so far. I'm impressed. I think it looks beautiful on the skin. It looks very natural, but like full coverage, like, but it doesn't look cakey. And it doesn't look dry in any areas right now. It's not clinging to anything. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish up the rest of my makeup. Just to let you guys know, I am going to do a little bit of spot concealing, mostly just here, one little spot here, and then highlighting my nose and underneath my eyes, but that's all the extra coverage I'm going to add. So the check-in time is going to be 12:19. So I'll be right back. Okay, so my makeup is all done. It is now 12:26. So I think the foundation looks really, really pretty. I'm definitely impressed so far. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in so you guys can see, and then I'll be back in 8 hours to check in and tell you how it wore throughout the day. So it is now 8:56. You guys can see it has been on for 8.5 hours, and honestly I think it looks really good for 8.5 hours of wear. I wouldn't say it's like my favorite foundation of life, but overall it does still look pretty good. I think that I lost a little bit of coverage over time. I feel like I can see my redness peeking through in certain areas, but I do have a 1-year-old who loves to play with my face and grab it, and like this earlier he was just sitting there like smacking my forehead, so that could definitely be part of why some of the coverage has left. I'm really impressed with how it wore as far as not getting dry, because I'm looking at myself right now and I don't have any dryness in some of the areas that it clings to, like above my lips. Sometimes I get clinginess. Around my nose is like my most troublesome spot, and I really don't have any dryness there, so I think that's really nice, because for some reason I thought this foundation was meant for oily skin, but I have pretty dry skin and I think it looks pretty good for like a full day's wear. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have anything super bad to say about it. I have noticed that I did get smile lines, which I always get no matter what I wear. If any of you guys have tips on how to not get smile lines whenever you put foundation on, I would love to know, because that is like something that I totally struggle with. So overall, I would recommend trying out this foundation. I think that it looks really nice throughout the day, and overall I'm impressed. I would definitely keep using it, and I will probably try mixing it with other things in the future just to see if I could come up with any good concoctions, because I prefer a dewy foundation, and this was a little bit more on the matte side, but I liked that it was like settle matte. It wasn't like super flat matte like the last foundation I did, the NYX Total Cover Drops or something like that, or maybe it's Total Control Drops. Those were super flat matte, whereas this, I felt like I really, really liked it. And yeah, I recommend. I mean, I love that it's drugstore. It's super accessible. I mean, you can pretty much get Milani at most Walmarts now, and it is one of the few drugstore brands that is cruelty free. So overall, I'm happy. I'm going to zoom you guys in real quick so you can see what the foundation looks like after 8 hours of wear, super up close. So that is pretty much everything for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.